If you're thinking of taking your hijab off or you're thinking of wearing the hijab, I consider you watch this video. The stigma of taking your hijab off is what keeps a lot of girls still wearing their hijab. My teacher took me to the side and she was telling me, oh, you're beautiful without the hijab, you're too young, if you're not going to wear it correctly, take it off. Let's talk about my first time considering potentially slightly taking off the hijab. You're going to out. For the person who's thinking of taking it off, I want to tell you this. Hey guys, and my name is Demalia, and on this channel we just talk, so let's get into today's topic. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I thought I would wait a little longer before actually diving into, but because it's always of relevance and you'll never be 100% ready, and I was like, you know what, today's the day. Talking about hijab is nothing easy because some people were forced to wear it, some people wear it super early, some people just started, some people took it off. If you're thinking of taking your hijab off or you're thinking of wearing the hijab, I consider you watch this video. Of course, it's my own story. It's not everyone's, but this is a perspective I feel that is super important for you, whether you're making both of these decisions. Definitely recommend you watching this video because if you are struggling with something I was struggling with the hijab, or I'm still struggling with the hijab, then you might be able to see that, oh, maybe I've seen light at the end of the tunnel where you're probably struggling with. And on the other hand, if you've been, thinking of wearing the hijab and you maybe made the hijab to be something more complicated than it actually is, watching this video will give you like a more of a real in-depth experiences that I wouldn't say all, but a lot of us Muslim girls go through. Just, stay around, watch the video. I think the vibes are good here. So you're going to see me move a lot with my hands because I'm obsessed with these. So if you all see my hands, don't see nothing. I want to preface this by saying, by making this video, I'm no means saying that I'm a perfect hijabi. I will talk about that in a later video, but a lot of people think that to be a Muslim content creator, the prerequisite for you is to be perfect. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my creator, didn't even create me to be perfect. So why are human standards going to make me feel like I can't talk about something? Don't take as bond what some random person on social media is saying. I'm no one, but if you want to listen, you listen. It should be known that in my case, I wore it super young. I was actually, I wouldn't even put it past 8 or 7, just because I grew up with a lot of women, and most of the women I look up to, aka my older sister, my mom, and my aunties, they all wear hijab. There's a very delicate thing to be mindful of because at a young age, you don't really know what it entails. It's hard to say that I chose it. I was compelled to do it, and I was never forced to maintain it. So I think for me, though I didn't know all that I was signing up for, there was never this thing where my parents pressured me to wear the hijab. Alhamdulillah, like, honest to God, my parents never forced me to wear the hijab. Growing up, me and my sister were twins. Like, we're not even that far in age, but my parents would always buy us, like, the same thing. Like, when she started wearing hijab, I was like, this seems interesting. Fast forward, when I was growing up in elementary school, to be honest, it wasn't really something constant. 90 to 85% of the time, I always had my hijab. The thing that wasn't constant is not the thing on my head, but like, I'm a kid. I'll wear short sleeves, and I had my braids done. I'll like have a few strands come out. PE, I would take my hijab off. I did have it for the big majority of my time, but it was never like when you're growing up and there's actually like rules to hijab and like how it's prescripted to wear it. When I was in 2nd grade, I wanted to wear the hijab for the picture day. I remember my teacher took me to the side and she was telling me, oh, you're beautiful without the hijab, you're too young. She was not white, but she was not Muslim. That Islamophobia where they think I'm being forced. She actually coerced me to not wear my hijab on her picture day. And I feel so bad because I was so hyped and my parents were so proud. Like, I had like a new hijab. Again, my parents would not do anything to me if I didn't wear the hijab when I was younger. But, we all hyped it up. We bought a new hijab and I was ready to like have my first picture day with the hijab. But, we're young and impressionable as kids. She took me to the side and she was like, oh yeah, you're so young, you're not supposed to wear hijab now. Mind you, my hair was so rough, like literally wearing the hijab would have been a better picture day than what I had there. In hindsight, like first of all, my hair was not looking good, and second of all, I just wish I wore that new hijab. I was so excited to be like my big sister and like my mom. She took that away from me, knowing that I was a young impressionable child. All throughout elementary school was really that. It was like short sleeves. First day or so, like I'll have a few braids coming out, or like on PE I'll take it out. But like I said, 80% of the time, I would even say 95% of the time, I'd have the hijab. That's kind of like the idea. I didn't have an aversion towards it because I was never forced to. For me, it was really like vibes. So happened that I liked the vibe. So do remember succinctly, like I had a lot of friends who, like, if I took it off for PE and PE was in the last period and I just walked home without my hijab after school, I was what, 9, 10, 7, 8. They wouldn't like tell me, oh my God, why didn't you have it up? It's just gonna be like, oh my God. Other people had that thing where it's like, if it was the last period and they took the hijab off, they'd have to like wear it back. They would have like, you know, 2 dress codes. So they would come to school with something, change their outfit, and then last period before going back home, then they would change it. And I think that is a lot of the reasons why a lot of the girls who started wearing hijab early have an unhealthy relationship with it. That's why whenever I see someone taking it off in high school or in elementary school, I don't know where along that line this consent came. But as soon as it went into middle school, that's when I realized this is not just something like I can take off during PE. Like, I'm actually a teen. We'll talk about this later, but sometimes the stigma of taking your hijab off is what keeps a lot of girls still wearing their hijab. That's where I think a lot of people started exploring and experimenting their hijab styles. Because before, when I used to wear the hijab, it was just like those one piece. Like, then when I went to high school, I started wearing like the veil and just wrap it around my face. And it was so unflattering. I was in my first year of middle school where I wasn't too obsessed with aesthetics. Like, though in elementary school, like there is like, you know, pretty girls and stuff like that, I wasn't too phased about that. But when I came into high school, I was like, oh, this is a whole different ball game. Like, the way you wear your hijab actually mattered. And my best friend in my first years of high school actually had a very distinct hijab style, which I found very beautiful. She had like a turban. People kind of had their signature style. I was just like, oh my God, like I have to lock in. Like, it never even dawned on me to ever take the hijab off. We'll talk about it. I did have phases where I was like, for the first days I had the one piece, but then I was like, ooh, we're not doing this. And I'll talk about this in another video. Being fat in high school is an experience I wish on no one, but that also made me hyper aware of that. Like, I had to find ways to up my appearance. So I was like, it's not going to be a double homicide. I'm already fat. I'm not going to like not know how to have a signature hijab style. In high school, I think is where a lot of people had most doubts with their hijab. But to be honest, I don't really think all through high school I've had any moment where I was definitively going to take the hijab off. You know what happens during high school. As women, you start, you know, comparing yourself to other girls. You start getting male attention, male validation, and all of that does play with your hijab. And on top of that, we had a uniform. So even though you would try your best to be modest, your pants were super tight, your shirt was like as tight as well. It was kind of like a continuation of elementary school because I did wear hijab on my head, but it's no longer clothes I could wear now. Then again, I was like, what, 12 to 17. My parents never needed to force me to wear the hijab because never a conversation where they sat me down and was like, now you gotta wear the hijab. And mind you, of course, I'm a woman. During that time, I did hit puberty. So I did know that at this point, the hijab would be locked in. To our standards back then, I was still considered quite modest because there were hijabis, but yeah, I think there were. Though my school was majoritarily like Muslim, there were tons of Muslims. There were not tons of hijabis. Most of the Muslim girls did not wear hijab. There was like a handful of Muslim girls who did. In high school, I was part of a certain program where we were like in closed groups for our whole high school. So it's not like the other classes where you mix and see different people. We were literally the same group from the first year of high school to the last year. There's a lot of factors that come into play that even if I feel like if you were not a hijabi, you would still be under these kind of societal influences. Oh my God, I'm starting to get attention. I'm starting to, you know, look at people. People are starting to look at me and, oh my God, okay, let me show more neck or let me change the colors up. I definitely feel like the high school girlies who are going through it now have it different than us because when we were in high school, there was no such thing as Muslim TikTok. You all know what I mean by Muslim TikTok. And I say this with extreme caution because there's so many good things that come from Muslim TikTok. But on the flip side, there's so much bullying that comes with Muslim TikTok to the point that you're sitting with even your non-Muslim peers and they will tell you what they see from Muslim TikTok. Also a caveat, I remember this boy in my class, I was sitting next to him. He was like my lab partner. In the day, boys, when they were watching certain content, they used to like brag about it in class. And he would brag to me about how he would watch that type of content with hijabis in it. That shifted in my brain. I'm like, whoa, I always saw hijab as a way, back in the day, as a way to like hide like the beauty you have. And now you're telling me that people are wanting to actively watch this type of content, which is literally the antithesis of covering yourself with women who are covered. But that's another tangent. My whole ethos was that wearing hijab made you maybe not desirable. I remember this specific instance where I was in high school. Always say, don't ever judge someone's sin. Wallahi, don't do that, because the moment you open your mouth to judge someone's sin while you feel like you're doing well, Allah will test you with that. And don't do that. I mentioned before earlier in the video, even while I wasn't like on deen per se, alhamdulillah, so you know, I had a great family structure, so still praying, still reading Quran, but like, did I really like embody it? I wouldn't say necessarily. Islam was still somewhere in the picture. Like, one of my closest friends was Muslim. She was also hijabi as well. Midway through high school, there's this girl who came to school and she just took the hijab off. At the time, I was friends with this certain individual. It was going off on her. She was like, I don't understand. Like, it's never that deep. It will never be a situation where you need to take your hijab off. You know, like, this person was very peculiar, very conservative on certain points, but on others would like completely overlook it, like picking and choosing. I was like, yeah, it's true. Like, no one is negating the fact that, you know, hijab is fard. It was kind of making me feel like I'm just like those like Muslims who don't care. And growing up, my parents always did make me know that you never know what happens in people's household. And just our neighbors next door, I remember when we used to go to elementary school, they had pretty strict parents. At the age of like 4 or 5, they started wearing hijab, and they used to do it and put it on and put it back off. And when their parents figured that out, it wasn't a beautiful scene. Fast forward, this same friend, I think maybe a few years later, she was seriously considering removing hijab. And I was like, whenever you think that you are never struggle with hijab, Allah will test you with that. That's kind of like pretty much my high school experience. It could have been much worse, because I feel like if ever I was really having that burning desire to take my hijab off, I could have literally came to my sister or my mom and they would have been a safe space, kind of like what I'm trying to do with this video. Hijabis don't just go through life just like being happy with the hijab and not being sad as well, but we have the same things that non-hijabis go through. Like, am I pretty? How can I beautify this? How can I feel desirable? And all these. As a black girl, seeing like girls have their new hairstyles and their lace frontals and all of that, it does play with you. And I will never say that it was easy. I think there was other things I was worrying about. We'll talk about this actually in another video, like being fat in high school and what it does to you psychologically. At the time, I thought I was like obese. Like, I thought I was like a whale in high school. And looking back at it, you always magnify stuff in high school. So my thing was never really the hijab. It was really like, okay, as soon as I lose weight, everything will fall into place, hijab or not. Given that I wasn't like in a PWI, like a predominantly the white institution, I wasn't in an institution where there's a lot of non-Muslims. We would do the census, 70% Muslim. We'd literally see girls being hijabis being called the prettiest. So it was never a thing where you would compare yourself to the beauty standard of non-hijabis. Another thing that a lot of people don't want to mention, but did make them keep their hijab off during high school or whatever phase of life they are, is public scrutiny. Sometimes when you even think about that, you're like, okay, but what are people going to think? And though you should do it for the sake of Allah, I think it might have saved a lot of people to not take their hijab off. I've learned the definition of misogynist when I went to high school. Uneducated teen guys, I know some people still healing from the trauma of what they've been called by these guys in high school. Not wanting to go through that torture of being called like a whore or other derogatory term. A lot of people kept the hijab because as soon as you take the hijab off, these same men who would pride themselves of telling you what kind of X-rated content they would watch would be the same people to berate you and tell you that you're going to hell. I digress. So let's talk about my first time considering potentially slightly taking off the hijab. And I don't want to make it too crazy because honestly, it was literally like a phase. It didn't even last for like a week or so, but it was actually pretty scary. It's like 2020 was one of the reasons why I'm who I am today. Like, fell in love back with the DNA. Right before that, during the pandemic, you know, spending so much time alone, it was literally right before prom. Spoiler, I didn't get any prom. During that time, I was like getting into my MUA bag. I was learning how to do makeup, and I was also learning how to do like a lot of the things that I didn't do like growing up since I wore the hijab, such as like, you know, braiding myself or like lace frontals and stuff like that. When I was starting to beautify myself, such as like doing makeup routines and then also like trying to new hairstyles, that was right before we had our scheduled prom / graduation. And I was just thinking to myself, and I was like, I never had the decision to wear the hijab. And I actually told my parents this. I started probing their brains. It was like, what would happen if I stopped wearing the hijab? I'm not gonna lie, my parents, you could tell the demeanor shift. They're like, is she soft launching? Is she telling us that she's not gonna wear it anymore? but I don't really remember how the conversation went. I still wasn't maybe convinced by what they said, but I heard something about like, when we did our due diligence, you are an amana to us, and we kind of put the things in place for you to be a better Muslim. But ultimately, like, they never told me like ultimately you can take it off. It was very blurry time, but I know that was a time where for prom I was like, honestly, I don't think I wanted to take it off for prom. I think more so that just happened in all of that time. It wasn't like, oh, I want to do all my 5 years of high school and take it off at prom. No, like everything was happening at the same time. Pandemic, we were all kind of losing our minds. Alhamdulillah, I've never taken it off, but I know all too well what it feels to, like, you're missing out and grass is greener on the other side. That was also the time where I was getting closer to the deen. Notwithstanding my parents, like, I honestly made the decision myself, like, no, it's not even worth it. You're going to college. Like, is it in college they're going to take your hijab off? And I wasn't finding any compelling reasons to do so. I'm gonna fast forward to now. So I did do a huge jump, because when I was starting to get more into the deen or choose Islam for myself, I feel like a lot of people go through that, especially in this era of social media. Whenever you start wanting to get into the deen, you start using social media as your main resource and your main recourse to learning about the deen. And the thing about that is that the deen that is preached online is very politicized and very polarized. Let's just say it's not just Islam, it's just Islam tainted with politics. So I started getting into that phase where like I had to do a 0 to 100. I started wearing certain clothes only. I think that was my first year of college. All go through our little rabbit hole for a minute where we think that we have to go 0 to 100 to be like a good Muslim or a good hijabi. But I will say a lot of people look back at their time where they go to the little dark side where you're just doing everything, like you're no longer on the wasat, meaning you're no longer on middle path, like you're just doing it in extremes. But I think that actually did help me. To this day, I think that kind of stuck since 2021-ish. I've always been an abaya girly through and through. Definitely don't mean that abayas are the only modest clothes. The thing about a lot of girls when they start wearing, like in French they say légiféré, is that they think that their culture's clothes are un-Islamic. Islam came and gave us prescriptions of modesty. So whether you're in the Middle East or you're in Africa, the way you apply these prescriptions of modesty are different. And there's no one that's better than the other. So because I live here in the West and I can run into an abaya shop and get an abaya, definitely I'd be wearing abaya. But if I were to live in Senegal or to live in Ghana or in Mauritania, I'd be wearing a melfa, I'd be wearing a tuba lafaya. As I went through that phase, the best thing that came out of it for me was also just like the wear. Like I became much more comfortable wearing looser, non-fitted clothes. From there, it's kind of been the same where it's like there's ebbs and flows. When we were younger, we thought validation only was synonymous to male validation. So, but when you grow up, you're like, validation is really with my friends, like with girls. There's no better feeling than getting ready for a girl date. Like that's when you're gonna wear your makeup, that's when you're gonna put your best perfume and your best clothes on. Though validation should be for yourself, like I should be able to like do my hair and love myself, which I do, and I'm actually gonna do my hair there tonight. Lastly, Muslim TikTok is a huge indicator of why a lot of people are taking their hijab off. I don't ever throw the baby away with the bathwater. The thing about Muslim TikTok is it has a lot of beautiful things that come with it. Sometimes you'll learn dua, you learn adhkar, content creators who make you want to be a better Muslim. But on the flip side of that, there's also that kind of side where, you know, you can never do right. It's another video that I wanted to do. Now, being a Muslim creator, it seems like the prerequisite is that you have to be perfect. And that's why a lot of people are shying away from the hijab, because if you see a sliver of her hair here, sister, you are about to go to hell. Sister, you know, you are single-handedly telling all the Muslim girls right now in North America to take their hijab off. All in all, if you take it in its entirety, Muslim TikTok is more known for its bad than its good. And even me as a Muslim, sometimes I find myself shying away of talking about certain topics just because I just see it coming. Oftentimes, like, you want to talk about my struggles with hijab, but people think you have to be a girl with a burqa before talking about your struggles with hijab. Hijab can be easy for someone, but sincerity is not their thing. In the same way, someone could have a great track record with being like a sincere person and doing things for the sake of Allah, but their struggle could be hijab. There's a lot of things that are fard, and I have a hypothesis that we've become so based on the visual, like on the zahir, and not in the batin, because we're thinking about what we can see. There's that thing where girls who don't wear niqab are like, okay, but girls who wear niqab also are bad. No, I think that is a very lazy sentiment. Like, if you don't feel adequate enough and you want to bring another girl down, I'm just saying wherever you are on the spectrum, you could have issues with certain things. You know, there's that thing where you judge only what's apparent, but that is also in the rise of people taking their hijabs off, because it's like, I have to be perfect for me to even speak. People literally drop comments saying, if you're not going to wear it correctly, take it off. What do you expect people to do? They're gonna follow your advice. If someone is already contemplating taking the hijab off and you give them this on a platter under their comments, what do you think they're gonna do? Let's think together. What do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna do just that. Then again, humans, we make our own decisions, but let's not lie, a lot of things influence us to make those decisions. But now even coming online and sharing your struggles about hijab is something that gets shunned for that. And lastly, we have to unlearn linking perfection with sincerity. Someone can still be sincere on their idea of wanting to wear the hijab, but it's still hard for them. So just because someone is lacking does not mean that they're not sincere. A part of nasiha or advice is also the art of doing it. Like adab cannot be lacking in your nasiha. I know some people go to the point where they think no one could come on social media and judge me because only Allah can judge. No, so you have to be able to give each other advice. Should be part of your rotation of du'as. Add that into your prayers. Allah, make me firm on your deen and make me also want to wear the hijab. For the person who's thinking of taking it off, I want to tell you this. There's so many reasons in life. If you think that you're taking it off now and later in life it won't manifest itself, if now, the issue for you wanting to take it off is self-worth and feeling beautiful, is it because you maybe did not explore ways where you could express your beauty? One of the big things that really helped me was I changed the gaze in which I want to show this beauty. Like the same struggle comes back in different forms. If you're right now struggling with self-worth, if you think, let me take it off for a bit and get my self-worth again, the most durable one that comes is the one that is not solely based on your hair or your look. And though hijab, like we like to reduce it to hair, technically it's not only hair. I really want you to ask yourself the question. Like me, I had to sit down and ask myself, what is it? And for me, the biggest thing was knowing that I wore it so long and I've never really tasted what it is to not have it on. Why don't you do something with the girls? The girls with the hijabs used to wear like dresses you wouldn't even imagine. Lastly, ask trusted people. You have to be vulnerable with your people to tell them, hey, I'm going through this. Had it really been bad or to the point where I was seriously considering taking it off, my mom is someone I could go to if that was the case. I think I might have went to my sister, or if you ask the wrong people, it's like me going to an Islamophobe and saying, hey, I want to take the hijab off. They already think you're oppressed. They think that they're helping you free yourself. As someone who really wants the best for you, they won't sugarcoat. They will tell you things because they want the best for you in this life and the next. My advice for the girls who are thinking of wearing the hijab, it's never as hard as you think it is. We have to say alhamdulillah for not even being in places where the hijab is like legally banned. I mean, I'm kind of in the middle because there is some laws here kind of like really targeted at the hijab, but it's like alhamdulillah, like the French girls' heart goes out to you guys. And most of the time you're in your head, try it, just go out one day with it. Sometimes people are scared of the commitment very gradually, and the whole time you ask Allah for tawfiq, but ask yourself why you're doing it. I have a good book on that. It's from Ghazali. It's Intention and Sincerity. Pretty good book on understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Say jump into the paint. I promise you, you can't think too much about it. I'm just some random girl on the internet talking about my hijab journey, so don't take as bond what I'm saying. I pray all of you guys, whether on whatever spectrum you are, your own personal journeys, find ways to honor the hijab. Allah make us strive to wear it in the best way possible. All of us kind of know where we stand and what we should be doing, with the optimal prescriptions of like the best of the sahabiyat and the people and how they wore it, and we strive to be those people. I can leave also advice for you as a Muslimah. Don't be that kind of Muslimah who is the reason why someone finds hijab hard to wear. While you're giving nasiha or while you're giving advice to women you perceive are not wearing the hijab, ask Allah to purify your intentions. And when you're giving that nasiha, ask Allah to untie the knots of your tongue. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri so that you say it in a manner that is pleasing for people, and so that you are the reason why a person decides to continue wearing the hijab and not the other way around. It's time to pray. Lastly, don't forget to follow my Instagram. But I'm telling y'all first because I like you guys. My podcast is coming back. Superior Intellect is more based on conversations that I'm having with people. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Stay safe. Take care. All the best. Oh yeah.